Hello there, my name is Eghosa Omoigui. I'm the managing partner of EchoVC. We're a seed and early stage venture capital firm with offices in Lagos and Nairobi, and we've been investing in Africa for 10 years. I was fortunate and lucky to have been invited to moderate the panel on gender smart investing yesterday with some illustrious fellow panelists. Ali from 54 Collective, Yanni from Rising Tide Africa, and Pauline from She Equity. Now, the original goal of the panel was to not just necessarily sort of provoke real thought and discussion, but more importantly to share what I called street level observations about the challenges and opportunities for gender-sensitive, gender-led, gender-lens investing. We got a bunch of very interesting pieces of sort of information from the panelists, and I'm going to just talk through a few of the highlights. One of them, which was shared by Yemi Kerry, was talking through her experience in managing cohorts of women founders through 5-week programs. And the significant sort of key takeaway there was just how much fall off there was from the beginning of the program to the end in terms of participation, engagement, and commitment. That was a little bit disappointing, and I think one of the things that she pointed out was that being able to run these programs also requires a very significant amount of sensitivity to the life happens construct that will befall a lot of women founders and entrepreneurs. And so having a mentor framework that allows these women to be properly supported as they go through the volatility of life and life's challenges and incidents and happenings is going to be very critical. There was also another interesting point by Ali with 54 Collective on some of the insights from running cohorts for She Arabia. And the most interesting insight was that they found that the level of commitment and intensity dialed up. There was an age correlated increase in the level of commitment and intensity, specifically for women who were 32 and up. They were getting a ton of that, and their sort of summation of that was that the first 10 years of post-college, women spent sort of settling down, getting married, having kids, and then once they got to a certain point where their families were stable and the kids didn't sort of need 24-hour round-the-clock care, they were sort of much more interested in starting businesses and chasing the sort of more sort of book building and company building ambitions of theirs. And I think that was sort of interesting that there was some age correlation. And finally, Pauline talked a lot about being able to, first of all, raise money for these types of founders, which I think is a little bit difficult. We'll talk a little bit about that. But also really about being able to find downstream capital, right? And that a lot of these founders were getting stranded. They were able to raise some pre-seed money, and then later on, there was just no further downstream money after that. And so therefore, it became sort of very important to be able to have more pools of capital available to match the evolution of these companies as the stage-centric evolution of these companies as they evolved. So overall, I think the summary yesterday was that we as a collective and as a community, we need to do better. We need to sort of recognize that women founders are not unicorns. There's a lot of deal flow. There's a lot of talent in the pipeline. And what we have to sort of do a better job of is really sort of deploying the capital versus talking about deploying the capital. I did mention that on one of the WhatsApp groups that earlier on in the year, I challenged everybody to at least commit to one investment in a woman-led company by the end of the year, which we're going to be at the end of the year in about a month. And so I'm looking forward to asking folks in the next week how the year is coming, and hopefully there'll be some better news. But there was a point that I didn't actually make in the panel that I should have made, and that is, as when we think about the constraints women founders face, one of the challenges in real life, and I think I talked about one real life example where we as a firm, EchoVC, we changed the process of evaluating them. So they come in, instead of them pitching decks, they send the decks in advance, and then we have conversations. But there's another point that I made in another interview that I should have made during the panel, and that is the insidious effect of shadow networks. So what you find is these deals get done because people pass them around to their networks. And women usually are not part of those networks. And they're also not part of the shadow gatherings that occur. People are, for instance, trying to, hey, come and meet us. We're going to have to go get a drink at 7:30 p.m. or 8 p.m. You got to go home and take care of the kids. So you then sort of see these layers of exclusion. And the real point, I think, is to make sure that we can be more active about recognizing when it's happening and making the adjustments for our women founders. So overall, I thought it was a fantastic panel. The feedback was excellent. It's been constant, and I think a lot of people appreciated the fact that it was provocative enough to be able to say all the things that nobody wants to say, but need to be said. And now we hope that there are going to be enough action points where we can start to see material results from that. So overall, I was glad to have been invited. I was glad to have moderated, and I was glad to have been part of the conference. And